Special event alert.
I'm sorry I'm late. I just got put on some new medication and had to stop by the 7-Eleven for an emergency event.
Which is excuse number 134 for being late for changeover, your weekly space news and variety show. I'm your host, Marty Smith, and I'm joined by Mr. History, Eric Perrott.
It's good to be part of the OGs, the old guys. Right on.
And our man, not in the closet, but in the Marriott, Jake Wall.
Knee deep in the Marriott. The closet's not big enough to fit this.
Yeah, your closet has better acoustics, so. We're here to bring you the latest headlines and updates pertinent to all Guardians and to the other branches as well. So take your seats, get informed, and have a laugh as we present Late for Changeover. Oh, I missed it.
Missed the button.
I pressed the button.
There was
That
nothing.
would require a little editing.
Nah, I don't edit. I don't edit anymore. I haven't edited for 2 years. I just cut it and go.
Okay.
Just throw
cut
it
it
in
go.
there.
But I have been saving some of the off-camera moments, so they're going to be good. You know, the whole dirty joke fest last week, or 2 weeks ago. That was 2 weeks ago, man. So Anna is not here, and Juan is not here. I'm not sure where they are, but we got the core. We got the core of us all together. Thanks for coming out.
Yeah.
What was that? What was that late for change? What did that stem from? Or what was the excuse stemming from?
Oh, one of my troops one time was on medicine that gave them diarrhea.
Ooh.
And and they literally was like, dude, I'm sorry. I just destroyed the 7-Eleven bathroom. I'm sorry.
Oh my God, he did.
Yikes.
Oh,
Do you need to go home? No, I'm good now. It's just initially.
I left it at the 7-Eleven. We're good.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
We're good.
it's good to see you guys. Speaking of medication, what do you think of all this Biden prostate stuff?
Oh, feel bad for the guy, man. It's
You know, I heard a doc talk about Dr. Drew talked about it. And he said if he did have prostate cancer, he's probably on this certain type of drug. And the symptoms of that drug are like forgetfulness, fatigue, falling down, all this other stuff. I was like, yes, that makes so much more sense now, right?
All
there was a
stuff.
reason. Yeah.
Yeah,
I feel-
because he's
I
been
feel
on this
bad for
drug
the guy, man.
for a while, right?
You don't want to wish that on anybody. but-
I feel bad because he looks more like a Weekend at Bernie's now prop than anything else. Like he was out of control, and they're like, "You got to go out there," and he's like, "Oh, okay, whatever. Where am I
hard.
again?" I
That's
mean,
hard.
they really abuse this guy, man. You know, and just from that standpoint alone, just to kind of maintain power, you're propping this guy up. So
When your own party
Man.
is beating you up, I'm like, man,
yeah, and now they're all turn on him.
yeah,
Right? They're like,
terrible, man.
hey, you never told us you were. I was like, what are you talking about? I still don't know what you're talking about.
It's hard.
Nice.
Hard.
It does kind of suck. But anyway, let me ask you one more question before we go into the news.
Ask me a question, Marty.
I thought that the Air Forces, right, we're going to start cracking down on beards and dress standards. Remember, we've done several stories like that.
Oh, all the stories.
However, there, you know, up at Buckley, they got Australians, British, and Canadians. And I think the Canadians have just totally pitched almost everything about uniforms away.
Really?
So I am in the MCS, just passing by. Well, I don't know. We were waiting for something. I was talking with this Canadian, hat on indoors,
Oh,
full beard, 2 earrings in, guy. And
earrings.
I was like, hey, what do you think of the MCS? And he's like, that, yeah, you know, we're just sitting there talking. I'm like, wow.
In
That-
uniform?
In uniform hat on, indoors, full beard, nice tailored beard though. It wasn't scraggly. It was well groomed,
Wow.
and earring in each ear. I was like, "Whoa, I couldn't
Dude.
survive. Yeah, I couldn't make it. I
No.
wouldn't know what to say.
I'd lose
Was
my
that like a
shit.
spite vote or
I
something like
don't
that?
know.
Like,
I don't know. It was wild. It was wild. So I
I'd
don't know if you guys have
lose
run
my
into that. Well,
shit.
I know you haven't run into it, Eric, because
No.
not a lot of uniforms out on the golf course.
Nope,
So-
that's true. I would have lost my shit had there been one.
You would have shot him with your 38. I know.
Spin the wheel and play freaking.
What, the opposite of Russian roulette?
Bare minimum, tased him in the dick. Bare minimum.
Absolutely, man.
Well, on that note, let's get to the news, shall we? All right, this first story is about this British company, and it's a short story, but what they're able to do with their satellite is really pretty cool when you think about it. So, from where did I get this story from? Oh, Space News. So, I was like, I don't even know where I got this story from. So, from spacenews.com, SatVu's thermal imaging satellite winning over customers despite early setbacks. So, don't worry about the early setback. It'll explain a little bit. In the crowded don't worry about that little guy. In a crowded satellite imagery market, British startup SatVu is carving a niche in high-resolution mid-wave infrared sensing. So MWIR, right? But it's the longer band of MWIR. These sensors can detect heat signatures as small as 3.5 meters. Heat signatures, enabling detailed analysis of individual buildings and infrastructure. While thermal imaging isn't new, few companies are operating in the MWIR spectrum at high resolution. According to a report from the Center for Strategic and International Studies, South Korea and Chinese constellations currently dominate this sector of the market. So let me show you a picture of what they're talking about, right?
You know, if I was on the speeder bike that we talked about last week, they wouldn't see me.
Oh, yeah, that was badass. I'm sure Jake watched our episode from last week.
Me too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
The
speeder bike.
is cool.
Yeah.
So this image from this British SatVu is of a Chinese airport.
Oh,
All right. So you can, I know you can't see my mouse cursor, but see, you can see the runways and you can see the planes lit up on there.
yeah.
Mhm.
So that's what they're producing. They're producing thermal images in MWIR available for private purchase.
Huh.
So you could buy whatever this footprint of this satellite is. You could buy images, made to order.
Is it
right?
just heat signatures that you're seeing?
It's mostly, it's all thermal. It's all
Okay.
thermal in the MWIR band.
Hmm.
So they failed. This is the second satellite that they've put up. They failed on their first thermal imaging satellite after just 6 months in orbit. But the company has already signed up customers for its next satellite scheduled to launch later this year. Anthony Baker, who is the SatVu CEO and co-founder, said, we've actually got about $6 million worth of pre-orders already for HotSat 2 based on the data we got from HotSat 1.
Dang.
HotSat 1 launched in June 2023, was manufactured by Surrey Satellite Technology, which is a subsidiary of Airbus. With high-resolution thermal images, analysts can determine if a power plant or factory is running and even estimate what kind of product it's making based solely on its thermal signature, which is a pretty powerful tool for defense analysts and economic forecasters, said Baker. SatVu's long-term goal is to build an 8-satellite constellation that can provide daily global coverage.
Oh, I don't have to laze it. Now it's just putting off a heat signature. I'll blow the
No,
shit
you
out of
got a
Really
satellite
cool.
putting out thermal pictures like this.
All right.
Daily scans of the Earth.
Yeah, of any target you want. I mean,
That's
you know, this
good.
is like remember Clear and Present Danger? Remember that movie with Harrison Ford when they had they retasked the satellite and you could see the thermal images
Yep.
of the terrorist camp with the special forces running at it.
Down to the actual person.
I know that was really detailed.
Come on, man.
And here we are 30 years later, and they're like, we got it down to 3.5 meters. And
That's
you're like, well,
crazy.
Tom Clancy had you beat way back in the early 90s. So,
Like if they do daily global coverage, like you could seriously monitor crops and the watering of crops
oh yeah, yeah,
per day. Like if you got that image from today,
sure.
you're like, oh, there's a couple of dry patches. I need to go water more.
Or maybe
Or-
it's a 15-minute video someplace. You know, let's watch this launch site, see what they're doing out there, right?
Considerable data collection.
And this is
Holy
a
cow.
civilian company doing it, offering it up to defense and whoever wants to buy it. Kind of scary because you know that's going to turn bad.
That's going to
You
be
know
a
that's
big
going to
market.
turn bad, right?
It's gonna be a big market.
So good on it, man. The SatVu, that's really cool. But they're putting
Is that an American company? Is it
no British company.
That used to
yeah.
be British.
But we'll be on the doorstep and be like, we're buying everything you're producing. So
Yeah.
And you know that traditionally what capabilities are advertised are
yeah.
not what the
All
capabilities
we got.
yeah.
available.
Think about it. 3.5 meters they're saying right now. It
Pinpoint.
might be Tom Clancy. You know, it
Pinpoint.
might be
Yeah,
those
might be
guys
Tom
running
Clancy.
around. But just to have a thermal sensor always on,
Yeah,
I mean, that's
crazy.
right.
Wouldn't pay to be a bad guy in that environment.
No, not necessarily, not anymore.
Yeah.
Right?
Better stay cold, baby.
Yeah. Better figure out the
Yeah.
mud that Arnold Schwarzenegger used
Yeah.
in Predator and be like,
Yeah.
can't
Put-
see me, I'm covered in
Put
mud.
some mud
Gotta
on you.
invest in that mud.
Put it in a coat of mud, man.
Okay, you ready for some constant good news from the VA?
I like constant.
Hell yeah.
The VA.
Well, actually,
Come on, VA.
this isn't really straight on the VA. It is, but it's not straight on the VA, right? So there were so many stories to choose from, and I cut them down because I thought it would be too much bashing.
Oh,
You know,
is that much VA bashing?
if VA ever wanted to sponsor us, they'd probably pull it after this episode. Because there was one from Federal News Network about VAs making them have the employees have mandatory overtime.
Oh,
10 hours a week, mandatory, to get rid of the backlog.
as long as you
It's
pay
like you're
me.
working for L3 Harris. Jeez, man.
Required
Well, we just
overtime.
lost that sponsor. Anyway, this one in particular was kind of interesting because I'd never heard of it before. So we've all heard of stolen valor, right? But
Yeah.
this one is about a situation I never even knew existed. So from stripes.com, the VA's growing role of veterans getting P.O.W. benefits is being scrutinized by a
Ooh.
group that was once being held captive. So
Wow.
I know it's enough to go, oh yeah, I served, right? There's like, oh yeah, I was also a POW. You're like,
Yeah.
what?
I
I
sat
haven't
in
had POWs in a long
the
time.
Hanoi Hilton with my ankles chained up for 2
Well.
years. What?
When the number of former prisoners of war receiving benefits from the Department of Veterans Affairs nearly doubled without explanation, an American survivor of the Hanoi Hilton wanted answers. Mike McGrath, a Vietnam veteran who spent 6 years in captivity and now investigates false military claims, said his research points to imposters receiving VA POW benefits.
You know why? Because the VA made it that easy. They had no time to follow up. So you apply, they go, oh, okay.
I think they just don't know. They're just doing stuff day to day and nobody's really watching them.
Yeah.
That's what I think it is. So the VA offers a different explanation, however. Officials say the surge in POW figures stems. This is a VA talking about their own system. They say it stems from a confusing accounting system that may count the same veteran more than once across multiple conflicts. It's not us. It's a system we use. It's not our fault, man. The department also acknowledged it does not track where a veteran was held captive. Just
Isn't that stupid? Why wouldn't it?
I don't know.
Prove POW status.
Well,
Right?
later
Like I have to prove I have knee pain.
Yeah, right.
I have to prove inability, like tinnitus.
It was
We have to
service
do this stuff
related.
to prove. We have to show our DD 214 and to prove
right.
all that other stuff. Right?
It does
There's people
seem
in
very
burn pit areas that have to prove that.
Right. It does seem very strict when we're trying to apply for something. But then you have all these cases are like, oh, this guy said he was a POW, but we don't know where he was.
Well, you know what I did? I went into the clothing store and bought a POW ribbon.
Oh, good call.
I had a ribbon. I had a ribbon. See, I got a ribbon.
I got one of those bracelets from the POW MIA. They used to give out. Does that count?
Must be a POW.
Yeah, it must be. Nobody else wears those metal bracelets. Nope. You know, why not?
10% right there.
This guy, Mike McGrath, who's doing the Lord's work. McGrath and a network of fellow POWs and researchers say they've identified cases of veterans falsely claiming POW status to obtain benefits and prestige. I did look up beyond the articles, like, do they get more or do they get something like that? I couldn't find out if they got more because everything they listed is like, oh, that's what we all get. So I don't know what POWs get on top of that. But let's assume maybe they get more compensation. Let's assume that.
You do get a level of combat pay if you're in
you might, it might be more money.
Zone.
Yeah, you might
and that is a whole different pile of money.
Right.
So talk about
it comes out of a different pile,
POW,
not just vets,
you get more combat pay.
Yeah,
there's the potential that you get combat pay if you were a POW.
Good point. The VA said it is not aware of any fraudulent claims, but officials did not address whether the agency has audited its POW roles. And they haven't. They haven't, right?
That's why. We haven't found any issues at all. Have you looked? No.
Well, no.
We haven't had any issues.
We had no reason to. Yeah.
Why would we look? We have no issues.
It's almost like, hey, state, have you cleaned up your voter rolls and taken all the dead people off? It's like, no. Why?
Why would we need? They're dead. Why would we need to do that?
Dead people don't hurt anything. Yeah.
They vote pretty powerfully, but other than that,
they might. I don't know.
McGrath said he first noticed discrepancies in 2008 when VA data on living POWs began to diverge from Defense Department records. By July 2024, the VA, in a report to Congress, tallied 1,191 living POWs from Southeast Asia. In 2008, the VA listed 661. So how'd they go from 661 to almost 1,200, which was in line with the Defense Department fact sheet? McGrath believes just 326 remain alive from Vietnam today.
Wow.
So more recent conflicts show even greater inconsistencies. McGrath's research indicates 31 POWs survived the Gulf War and post 9/11 conflicts. Yet the VA lists not 31. Guess how many the VA lists?
Like 101.
1,142.
Come on, man.
From the Gulf War post 9/11.
Were they abducted afterwards or something?
I don't know. But that's what's on the VA's list. Stars and Stripes was able to verify each of the 31 names on McGrath's list following a review of past news articles and press releases. I don't remember that many POWs. I knew convoys got hijacked. I knew, I'm mixing wars. But I know that was the majority of the POWs, right? Everybody else kind of died.
Well,
they weren't.
There
really
was some in Korea, some in Vietnam, and there was
no. I mean from just like post 9/11, right? So those POWs, I think, were some convoy guys and some other things.
Yeah.
Caught, right.
So let me ask you this: the helicopter pilot that was alive in Black Hawk Down.
Somalia. That was early 90s, right? Or mid 90s. Yeah.
But was he considered a POW? Because it wasn't.
I don't know,
really
because he was released.
War.
Yeah, he was released
captured
later. Yeah,
he was.
Like 2 weeks later, he was released.
Yeah. I don't know.
Who was that kid that Bergdahl? He was a POW.
Bergdahl was. Yeah, when he walked away, that son of a bitch. And then
I
we
mean,
traded. Didn't we
technically
trade like a
POW.
bunch of guys for him?
Yeah, for
Oh,
one
man.
guy, man.
Stupid. Good call.
Mm.
VA Chief Data Officer Lisa Rosenmerkel told Stars and Stripes in March that the agency only tracks POWs by congressionally defined periods of service, not by war.
Hmm.
Okay.
Wait,
Well, maybe part of that is because we haven't really had a war since what, World War II? Because Congress hasn't declared war formally,
yeah.
right? Since World War II. Korea wasn't even a war. It was a police action or something like that.
You
Correct.
still have to be captured and held as a prisoner.
Right. I agree. Yeah. Yeah.
That shouldn't be that horribly difficult to
No. But
verify.
she said tracking it just by periods of service can lead to double counting if a veteran service spans multiple periods. If you served from 56 to 1970, we would count you in Korea and Vietnam, she said. I know this is all in quotes. I know it's super confusing, but unfortunately, this is the most kind of granularity we can show.
It's
Well,
not
there were,
super
you know what? There
confusing.
were other events.
It's
You had,
not that hard to understand.
It's not that hard. I know.
Shut
you
the-
had Grenada.
If-
You had
Oh,
Panama.
yeah. Good point.
You had both those operations that were
Sure.
conflicts.
But
So-
did you have any POWs in any one of those?
I'm not aware of
No,
any.
I don't think
Grenada.
so. I don't think
In
so.
Panama, I don't
That's
know.
the thing.
I
But
think
I'm
they
saying
did in
there
the
was a
Gulf War,
conflict.
but
Yeah.
a handful. There wasn't many, right? And they weren't held for that long. Now I don't know how long you have to be held for a POW. You know, we all know you got to be out of country in a war zone for so long before you get tax free.
Yeah.
I don't know
Well,
if
it's probably the
POW
same.
is like,
Yeah, you got to be 121 days.
yeah, you're going to be held for quite a while to get any of that
Or
extra money.
14 days of consistent purple nurpling. Right.
yeah,
Like,
right.
eh.
That's okay. That's enough. You get it. You get it. Right?
13, no. You're
No,
just having fun.
fuck, yeah.
14,
You know what you're up
that's
to.
torture.
Rosenmerkel said she didn't know
Fair
why
enough.
earlier tallies aligned with DoD data while current numbers do not. So maybe it's less of people trying to falsely claim their POWs, and maybe it's more the VA can't count, or they can triple count and
Or their
not
system
realize that they're
does it
triple counting.
document.
Yeah. The VA defines a POW as a service member, quote, forcibly detained or interned by an enemy or hostile force. During wartime, DoD makes determinations, but during peacetime, the VA may rule on its own. What? Including on cases supported by, quote, buddy statements or supplementary documentation. What is the VA doing? They're just out there on their own, just like making up their own rules. It's
Jake, let me
crazy.
know when you want to enhance your POW status. I'll be your buddy check guy. You
Oh,
say,
there you go.
I was
Yeah.
there. I saw they grabbed Jake, grabbed him by his ankles.
Technically,
put him on a
Marty
pole.
wanted to go home from a deployment that we were on. Marty wanted to go home really bad, and they held him
And
That's
paid
true.
him.
That's
Yeah.
true.
for
Actually,
way longer.
I would almost be a reverse POW because they wanted me to go home and I wouldn't. So I'm almost like
you owe
reverse
them.
POW.
You owe them money.
But
Oh, wait, you owe me money for being there while you wanted to go home. That's what's going on. I had to suffer
if
through all
it
that.
wasn't for Jake, I would have lost my sanity.
Yeah.
Absolutely lost my fuck. Jake and Jimmy, those are the two that kept me sane. But Jake was
the most insane bastards out
well,
there.
true. Jake was confined to Schriever for many years, so that's almost POWs.
That is rough, dude.
You know.
I'll tell you what.
Especially you get locked down in the phone booth. Forget it.
Oh, yeah, brother.
Yeah, forget it.
Done.
Conclude just POWs are eligible for a range of benefits, including pensions, medical care, educational assistance, home loans, and burial services. That almost sounds like any veteran. So it must be a
You get
higher
extra.
dollar amount. Yeah, you must
Yeah.
be able to get that. So I've never heard of anybody trying. I mean, the gall First off, to say that you're in the military, and then also to say that you're a POW. Now,
Yeah.
there's not. I mean, back in the 70s, okay, we had a shitload of people who were POWs.
Yeah.
But not right now, man.
So you guys realize, I'm sure you know this, a number of decorations authorize an additional part.
That
retirement.
happens a lot. You're right. Right.
So, with mine, I got a letter that said the service, though the service was brave and whatever it stated, it did not warrant the additional 10% authorized for my retirement pay.
Even though you're a Purple Heart winner?
Not a Purple Heart winner.
I thought you were a Purple Heart winner.
No, I'm a Bronze Star winner.
Oh, Bronze Star. Okay,
and
sorry.
It said, no, the service was awesome. You did a great shit, and it was scary and all that, but nah, you don't get the 10%. I kept the letter though. It's cool.
It actually stated in there that you don't get any extra.
It does not warrant the additional 10%. It should have been an additional 10%.
Awesome.
Did give me 10%.
Holy shit!
Awesome.
That's a pat on the shoulder and a kick in the nuts at the same time. It's like, thanks for doing it. Thanks for doing it. Thanks for being pinned down for most of the day by a sniper, but that doesn't get you 10% more. Come on, dude.
So I'm sure the POW status gets extra money.
Who's able to impersonate a POW nowadays?
It's pretty ballsy to do that.
Yeah. Maybe they're figuring there's not that many left, so I can't get called out. And VA's got their head up their ass, so they don't know. So we're good to go.
Nice.
We're good to go.
Additional money.
But there was another VA story where they were talking, the mandatory overtime stuff, but then they were moving funds around. And then everybody has this whole fear of that we've shaved all these VA employees off with the Doge, right? But having all those extra employees didn't seem to make it any more efficient anyway.
None.
So,
none.
They still had a backlog.
Losing $1 billion a year. Come on.
Right. Okay, before this next story from Military Times, I prepared a little video that'll probably get banned on YouTube. But nice. I prepared a little video to help you get into it.
Referred to as a pistol.
Look, I don't need a history lesson. Come on, Hal. Where the goddamn guns?
You are fined 1 credit for a violation of the verbal morality statute.
Fuck you.
Your repeated violation of the verbal morality statute has caused me to notify the San Angeles Police Department. Please remain where you are for your reprimand.
Yeah, right.
I like what he says.
Fuckers are fast, too.
You are fined 1 credit for violation of the verbal morality.
I liked it.
Fuckers are fast, too. That's good. So why did I do that? It's because an Army battalion now has banned the use of profanity.
Non-judicial punishment for the word hell.
No, it goes beyond that. Wait till you hear. The 43rd Adjutant Battalion issued a memo last month instructing military personnel to refrain from uttering expletives. An April 17th memo with a subject line that read "Profanity-Free Campus." Whoever calls a fort a campus, that's fucked up already. But the memo made it clear that the use of profanity, vulgar language, or rude gestures or remarks is prohibited for soldiers operating during duty hours at the unit, which is stationed at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. Such language does not align with the Army's core values and undermines the integrity of our soldiers and our formations.
Profanity is the only core value that we've ever had in the United Army.
I know.
It's the only core value.
The memo specified that bad language will not be tolerated during meetings, briefings, or training exercises, and cannot be used when speaking with peers, trainees, or superiors. Clothing will not be allowed to depict any offensive language either, the memo stated. Tiffany Wood, who's a spokesman.
MS-13. Oh, sorry.
Well, that's not vulgar.
That's an alleged membership, though.
What?
Spokesperson Tiffany Wood from Fort Leonard Wood said, "This is a policy to correct actions that took place within the unit based on results of an investigation conducted earlier this year. She explained via an email statement that the investigation was launched after concerns rose over the battalion's climate and culture in the wake of an alleged extreme use of profanity. So you know what they did? They must have had what are those surveys? Climate surveys?
Climate surveys.
I
yeah.
bet they had a climate survey, and some people, the majority of the comments were like, "There's too much cussing."
I can't believe
I
that
bet,
Secretary
I
of Defense Hegseth agreed with this.
Well, this
I
is
don't know how
this
you do
is
it.
just down at the local level, so he hasn't
Well-
stepped in yet.
Yeah. Okay. I can understand, but this is typical bullshit, right?
Mhm,
Like,
mhm.
why do they go to such distance? Instead of going back to the unit or the people that committed this issue and be like, guys, you can't
Knock it
cuss
off.
this
Yeah.
much.
Just
Dial
go
it back.
right. Go down to the leaders. Go down to the
Yes.
NCOs and go, "Hey, knock the shit off." All right.
This is unprofessional, and you need to dial it back.
This is
Instead of
almost
doing that, which is responsible, you're like,
right.
you're going full puritanical
Yeah.
rule of don't you dare say any. Is there a list of these cuss words?
No, but they do have a list of what happens to you if you say them.
So if I said fornicate yourself, that's
Ooh.
acceptable.
Well, if somebody interpreted, I'm sure that's what it is.
Yeah,
If
this
somebody
is bovine
interpreted, they're like,
feces.
oh no.
Your attitude.
Feces.
What do you want me to do? Like,
But
Where does
Jake,
it stop?
tell me if this doesn't sound like a Space Force knee-jerk reaction to something. Because that's
Oh, yeah.
exactly what Air Force
That's
Space
exactly what
Command
it is.
or
Of
Space
course it
Force
does.
would do, right?
Yep.
and instead of being grown-ups and handling it at the person or the institution that was causing the problem,
Right.
Yep.
they're doing a blanket statement of everybody
Yeah.
saying
Yeah.
you cannot cuss at all on this base.
Right.
It wasn't the whole. You're going to get a worse reaction.
Which now
This.
makes you want to cuss even more.
Oh, dude.
So,
First Sergeant, I'll be back in a half hour. I'm going to run outside the gate, say a couple key words for you, and then I'm going to
Yeah,
come back and we'll
dude.
talk about it.
but that's all it would take is like, hey, First Sergeant, go take care of this shit, right? Because remember, it's an Army unit. It's not a Space
Yeah.
Force unit. So you do have only a few officers, and most are enlisted. So Sergeant Major, fucking correct this. Go take care of it. I don't care how
Dial
you
it
do
back.
it. Go
boys.
take care of it.
Dial
Right.
it back.
Yeah.
That's all you
But
got.
instead, they've put out a policy now. So to ensure compliance with the obscenity ban, the Army created a 4-strike punitive policy. All right.
God.
The first strike will yield a verbal counseling. Strike 2 will lead to written counseling that goes in the soldier's file.
For saying a cuss word.
Strike 3 will result in the, quote, removal of favorable actions. And the final strike will lead to, quote, separation for misconduct based on a pattern of behavior.
Getting kicked out
Separation
of the military
for
for
cursing.
cussing.
Yes.
What happened
That's
to
according to this
retention,
memo.
retention and recruitment?
Nope. Well, we're only gonna retain Puritans, like Jake said.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because at that point in time, you could literally use this to get out if you wanted to.
Yeah.
I could do 4 strikes in one sentence.
Oh, dude.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Do we have to watch the
Unbelievable.
Demolition Man video again? I mean, you can do it in
No,
one
we can
sentence.
reenact
That's
it right now. I can
Yeah.
just go down all my favorite ones right there.
You'd be like, shit. Hey, Sergeant
That's
Wall.
one.
Are you fucking
You know that-
counseling me?
You know
Oh,
that's
that's
fucking
2.
ridiculous,
I
dude.
can't effing believe this shit. Oh, that's
This
3.
is some horse shit. Oh,
See you later.
like,
Pack your bags.
why are you guys such a pain in my ass every time? Oh,
Burr, burr, burr.
Does it result in dishonorable or other than honorable?
how
If they're
would
going
you
to put you out
qualify
for
that?
separation, it can't be. Well, maybe it could be honorable, but holy shit, you're getting kicked because of 4
Literally,
times you
holy
cursed.
shit.
Holy, that's unbelievable, right?
Guys, we have come so far from reality, in my opinion, since we were in.
And Eric,
And I'm
that's
like,
the Army. That's not Space Force. That's
oh,
the
I'm
Army.
sure when I jump
Exactly.
on board. Oh my
They're
god!
right there next to sailors.
Wow.
Like everybody knows that sailors cuss, right?
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
army is
Yeah.
right there next to it.
Oh
Of
my
all
God, yeah.
the prissy branches, Air Force is probably the least cussy of the bunch.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
we're
probably.
still
Yeah,
right up
probably.
We
there.
hear it
Right,
every
right.
day.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably like merchant Marines, regular Marines, Navy, Coast Guard's got to be in there somewhere, right? But then all the rest kind of tie, right? Army's got to be way low. I mean, that's. But these
I want to see
guys,
the list of words.
I'd like to see it too, right?
Yeah, where are these
Maybe we
lists of
can research that. Maybe we
unauthorized
can
words?
find it. Yeah.
I'm
Maybe we can
amazed
have
you know.
somebody
about this.
send it to us.
There would be 100% malicious compliance from me.
Oh,
I would come up with new
Cuss words.
fanatic, like purely
yeah.
correct. Yeah.
Like your whole
Fornicate,
new language. You'd be like, oh,
feces,
yeah.
rectum, all like, right? Like all of it. Right?
It's like when I say Modelo, that means motherfucker. All right, got it?
No.
You
No.
Modelo.
Yeah.
Or you call somebody Richard, you know what you are, pal.
Oh, it's a dick.
You know what you
good
are.
one,
All
Eric.
right,
Good
Richard.
one, Eric. Good
All right,
one,
Richard.
Eric.
Yeah.
So, yeah, surprising that they would put that out, but
You say
Man.
douchebag?
technically, that's not necessarily a curse word, but I don't know.
But
Maybe
see
a-
you next Tuesday. You know what I'm saying? I'll see you next Tuesday.
I cannot believe we're even talking about it, man. Unbelievable.
This is not even going to get close to YouTube after this segment.
Probably not, but there's a whole group of guys that are sitting there drinking tonight in the barracks talking about this memo going, what can
Losing
we
their
say
shit.
amongst us that we know we're
Oh.
cussing? Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. Oh,
Crazy.
man, so stupid. All right, let's raise your spirits, moviegoers. Okay.
Ooh, movie
And
guy.
this is from Task and Purpose. So, nothing is over. Nothing. They're going to make a Rambo origin movie. Or they're
God,
talking
we
about making a
step
Rambo
on.
origin
This is
movie.
Rambo 35.
So get your bandanas out one more time because John Rambo's coming back to the big screen. Several
It's gonna
Hollywood
be his
trade publications
grandfather.
are reporting that Millennium Media, the company behind the Expendables and Olympus Has Fallen, is currently at the ongoing Cannes Film Festival market shopping a new film detailing John Rambo's early days. So, yes, we are getting a Rambo origin film. Did you
With
guys?
Stallone? Is it going to be Stallone?
No, they said Stallone is not part of this whole thing. So,
Yeah, good.
Okay.
details on the actual plot are slim, but given the premise, the movie would likely be set during the Vietnam War itself, with Rambo and his fellow Green Berets going through hell in the jungle. Colonel Troutman, the man who made Rambo, is almost certainly going to appear. There are plenty of moments to draw from, both from David Morrell's 1972 novel First Blood and vignettes teased in the past 5 Rambo movies. The last 2 were really bad. Audiences might finally see Rambo truly yearn to be back at Fort Bragg, or more seriously, some of the harrowing and tragic events he recounts back in First Blood. So they're shopping it around, seeing if they can get any tickets. I think it's a great idea. Because
they already have the whole plot written.
Kind of, right? I mean,
start with what did he say
obviously
happened prior to this?
But at the same
There you go.
time, it would seem pretty simplistic, right? Because he's going to be a Green Beret. He's going to get caught. He's going to get cut. He's going to get tortured.
Go through the training probably.
And then you just make up whatever's, fantastical thing you want to get him out, right?
Yeah.
But who would they cast?
Oh, remember the sewage pit in that one?
Yeah, when they had him in the pig shit. Yeah, that was
They got
Rambo
the
too.
leeches and everything.
Yeah.
Oh, that was
That
gross.
was gross. That was gross thinking about it. I mean, dangling with leeches in your loincloth, like, in the pig shit, right?
Crazy.
But would they cast somebody that we know, or would they cast like a total unknown?
It's got to be
Like
a young
maybe he's
guy.
going to make it, right? Yeah, yeah, he's got to be young. He's got to
He's
be
gotta
like
be young.
19, 20 to go to Vietnam, right?
The guy that was in Top Gun 2, the guy Goose's son.
Which one? Oh,
Goose's son.
no,
No,
no way. He doesn't look vicious enough to be a Rambo, John Rambo.
I don't
No
know.
way.
Okay.
Yeah, that's before he got his viciousness.
I wonder if they just choose
That's a
somebody
bad-
new and they're just like, oh, hey, yeah. You know what I was thinking about was, remember Starship Troopers when they had Casper Van Diem? You know, he was Johnny,
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah, Johnny.
It's like, God damn, this guy. I even thought that guy's good looking. Man. He's sharp, and square jaw. Nothing afterwards. He did
No,
nothing.
he died on
Nothing.
a limb, man.
Because of that
Right, I
movie.
know. Maybe because of that movie. So maybe somebody will want to be picked up
Let's
for
kill another
John J.
career with
Rambo.
Rambo.
Yeah.
He had the best shower scene over with what's her name though. That was cool.
With
That's what-
Diz.
Diz, I remember that. Man. Yeah, that's God.
But that's what they're trying to get us to, right?
Mhm.
So I had heard, I may have said this on the podcast before, but that book, I had heard part of that book.
Yeah.
If you remember First Blood, the sheriff,
Mhm.
they said the sheriff in the book was a Korean War vet, and he resented the Vietnam vets coming back and getting all this attention. That was one of his motivations why he was against Rambo.
Okay.
Yeah,
It was like, oh, that's pretty good. That's pretty good
that's pretty
depth.
cool.
Yeah,
That makes
That's
more sense than
understandable.
just being poked at.
just being a prick.
Yeah. It's got to have a little background.
But yeah, he had some background, and there was a thing where because Korea vets got
Nothing.
zilch, still
Nothing.
get nothing, right?
Yeah.
Now there wasn't that many, granted, but the couple of years that they did, oh God, it's fucking brutal.
Yep.
Did you ever? I think we brought this up before too. You ever go out to DC and see that Korean memorial?
Oh, that's my
That-
favorite memorial.
That
man.
me too. That's my favorite one
That's a
too.
good one.
Because as you're walking through it, you're like, God, the spirit of these guys is right here with our size statues. Oh my
Walking
God.
through the rice paddies.
It
man.
is so humbling. It is
Yeah.
crazy, man.
No.
That's
So
good.
anyway, Eric, lift our spirits with some military history.
Oh yeah.
Or ditch your spirits.
Oh,
So we've
even
been
better.
talking about Vietnam all night, right?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
have actually.
All right. Well, we're going to
Couple
stick with
stories
that.
on it.
We're going to stick with that.
Wow, well done, Eric. Well
theme.
done.
Who saw the movie Hamburger Hill?
Of course.
yeah.
Yes. I don't
Yes.
remember it, but I did see it. Yes.
Well, that little battle took
Clint
place
Eastwood?
between May 10th and May 20th of 1969
Whoa,
during the
really?
Vietnam. Yep. So in late 69, American and South Vietnamese forces commenced Operation Apache Snow.
Ooh.
Remember
That's a good
the
name.
events that we talked about, Apache Snow? Would you have said, oh, really? But anyway, Operation Apache Snow with the intent of driving North Vietnamese troops from the A Shaw Valley. As
Okay.
this operation moved forward, heavy fighting developed around Hill 973. So let me ask you this before I move on.
All right.
Have you guys ever figured out why the number is assigned to the hill?
Map coordinates? I don't know.
Yeah.
Sort of map coordinates, but elevation and
Yeah.
terrain. Elevation and terrain. That's where the number comes from.
Okay. All right.
Let's stay well, Little Peace Hill. So this soon became the focus of the battle.
Yeah.
And additional American forces were committed with the goal of securing the hill. After a grinding, bloody fight for Hill 937 was finally secured, the fighting on the Hill 937 was covered extensively by the press, who questioned why the battle was necessary. The public relations
fuckers.
problems escalated when the hill was abandoned 15 days later, and it was reoccupied by whom? North Vietnamese.
Yeah.
So we took a hill that had no value whatsoever, with the exception of there being 1,600 Vietnamese on the hill. That's the only reason we engaged.
But we took the hill. We beat
We did.
The force that was there, right?
But
then we gave it right back.
That's my point. So we lost 70 that were killed, 372 wounded. We approximately killed 630 bad guys. So for all that, I don't know, freaking chaos,
Yeah.
we got nothing from it other than 630 KIAs. The strategic value of the hill was nothing.
Nothing.
It wasn't
Right.
a high ground. It didn't remove anything from the Ashaw Valley, and it ended May 20th.
Wow.
So there's your
Nice.
your history.
All the survivors standing on top of this, like, you guys really want this place?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A shithole.
Well, think about it. You run up this hill. It's just like freaking the one in Okinawa, not Okinawa, but on
Iwo.
Iwo.
Or not Iwo, but yeah, that.
Yeah, Iwo.
The Heartbreak Ridge, or not Heartbreak Ridge, Hacksaw Ridge, right?
Like that, sorry. You
Yeah.
climb up the freaking hill and you give it right back to the bad guys after you secure it. So we lost people and we secured it for what reason? So the public really jumped on that and made this thing a real PR nightmare for the U.S. because of what we lost.
Well,
But
I've got
that-
two thoughts on this. Right?
Yeah.
One is I've talked to 3 or 4 Vietnam era guys, and they said that was one of the most disheartening parts about the whole Vietnam War is that they would do these search and destroy missions, and they would heavily engage, but we never gained any ground. They pull us back, and we go back and do it again. That was one of the disheartening things. The other thought I have is so similar to our Afghanistan pullout.
Yeah.
We spent 20 years there, gave it all back.
Gave it all back.
Even Bagram, that blows my mind that we gave
With all the
Bagram,
equipment.
right?
It's just nuts.
And the other thought I had was, if you think about Vietnam era, the protests and how it changed policy and all that, they kind of get, they're kind of cast in a light. There's like, we were doing our job, trying to tell the government that this was wrong and all that stuff. But you know what? The damage that they did to the vets coming back in the name of their little political idea was really shitty.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And these are college students going out and protest because they feel so motivated to go do that. It's like, well, you made all these guys who put their life on the line, who got drafted, who didn't want to go in the first place, and you made them feel twice as bad.
Well, and there's another piece to this too that a lot of people don't even realize that was a big player was the president for South Vietnam, Catholic.
I know.
The other side was Buddhism. And as
Right.
Catholic, the Buddhists thought the Catholics were going to take over the country. So if you remember the Buddhists that started catching themselves on fire.
That famous picture that he was protesting the Catholicism.
Yeah. So it wasn't just
yeah.
let's get rid of communists, but it was a religious.
It was a mess.
It was
There was no reason why we went in.
Yeah.
It was fucking
religious piece to
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
The only reason I remember that image is because of the Rage Against Machines album.
Oh,
Yeah, that's right. Because they put that on there. I never knew about it, and I researched it, and I was like, oh, this guy was a tyrant. The South Vietnamese leader was a tyrant.
Yeah.
He was trying to force them to convert to Catholicism.
Yep.
Even more and more you go, yeah, maybe we weren't in the right.
No, sometimes I question that too, because we supported some of the. I mean, if you realize there must have been through the Vietnam era, there must have been, I think, 7 power changes in their government in South Vietnam.
Oh God, yeah.
So us trying to back one,
Sure.
support one, not support this one, crazy.
That's a mess.
Yeah.
That is a mess. Good day in history. Wow, I never
Heck
thought
yeah,
of that.
that was a
That
good
was
one.
really good, Eric.
Yep.
Wow, I appreciate that. All right, Jake out on the West Coast. Eric,
man.
north of me, about 15 minutes. I think we'll call it an end up from here. What do you say, guys?
Let's
And
call
yeah,
it.
All right.
let's go.
On behalf of all of us here, I'd like to thank you for listening today. Please like, share, subscribe, and let us know how we did the comments, and make sure that next week you are not
late for changeover.
out and one. We miss you. to everyone watching and listening, thanks for listening and watching. We'll see you next week.
Right on. Next week, fellas.
Eric, do you get a discount on Margaritaville if you can't drink the alcohol?
Ooh.
Oh no, he gets
That
banned.
might be a sweet.
We don't want.
Yeah, you're not even
We don't
allowed
want
there,
no,
dude.
no sober non-STD.
Yeah, I guess
Weak ass non-pineapple
We want
loving.
some drunk swingers.
Where does
baby.
STDs come from? How?
Those are bonuses. Those are bonuses.
Oh, goodness.
That's part of the package. That's part of the package.
Oh yeah, dude.
And it will be part of your package.
Yeah. Forever.
That's
Next
part of
Wednesday, we'll see you next week.
Less time.